Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, we're entering literally the final phase of the Bihar elections. I think the elections are due on 6th and 11th November, so the campaigning is on in full earnest. Seats have been allocated, issues have been decided. Now it's really the battle on the ground. The Prime Minister has also kickstarted the NDA campaign. He's, of course, attacking the Mahagathbandhan on development and what he calls the Lat Gathbandhan and not the Gathbandhan, the Lat Bandhan, sorry. On the other side, the Mahagathbandhan has finally come out with Tejasvi Yadav as its CM face. The Congress has put its vote behind Tejasvi Yadav's name. They've come up with a very surprising candidate for Deputy CM, going with Mukesh Saini, the Nishad leader. The AIMM has attacked them, saying, "Why not a Muslim leader? Why you're saying jiski hissedari, unki bhagidari? You're ignoring the Muslim community, which is 18% for I forget the percentage, but definitely a big larger chunk than the 2% Nishad community." To discuss what is happening on the ground, the issues on the ground, I have with me a panel of experts and people who know what is happening on the inside track. Joining me is Dr. Anshul Avijit. He's the national spokesperson for the Congress Party. We have Sandeep Ghosh. He's a political columnist and a commentator and analyst. And good to see you back on the show, Sandeep. It's been a while. And of course, Amitabh Tiwari, he is the founder of Ascendia Strategies, that is keeping us abreast with his vote vibe, the poll that he does, and is really giving us the news on the ground. He's also a political strategist. So, Amitabh, let's begin with you first. I have your latest findings with me. This week, you've taken in view the Mahila Rozgar Yojana, and you've come up with some very interesting findings. So, why don't you tell us the impact of that on the ground and also what else your poll tells us?
So essentially, after the announcement of the candidates and now the last date also for the withdrawal of both phases over, and now with the CM announcement also at MGB, now the contest moves to seat level. So it's all about seat level, caste arithmetic, dynamics, uh, whether the party has changed candidate where there is a lot of anti-incumbent. To give you some perspective, RJD has changed almost 45-46% of the candidates, as in sitting MLAs, whereas BJP has changed around 20% and Congress and JDU each 26%. And in the trackers that we've done at VoteVibe, it was very clear that there is high level of anti-incumbency against sitting MLAs, irrespective of the parties. So the contest moves to seat by seat. There is Jansuraj also. So Jansuraj is damaging or has put up the same caste candidate in against Mahagathbandhan in some seats and against NDA in some seats. However, since he's not contesting, some of the traction you can say at the leadership level which he had got is dissipating also. I think 2-3% loss is clearly visible in terms of vote share for Jan Swaraj. So the overarching theme, at least as of now, is this unemployment and this Mahila Rozgar Yojana.
For that, Amitabh, you also have some numbers, in your
Yeah.
for vote by, which is, if there was a vote, how many percent will go to NDA? Can you read out that part?
Yeah, so essentially we discuss this only with females. So
Okay. Acha, I didn't realize that. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So this is a female specific survey wherein 85% of people or women have that they have heard of the scheme. 94% have applied or filled up the form. And of them, almost 61% have received the money. So that translates into roughly
Great.
48% receiving the money. Uh, and of these women who have received the money, almost 58 to 60% are using it to start some small or micro level business, whether it's a tea shop or an egg business or etc. And of these, 45% are saying that they would vote for NDA, and 40% are saying that they would vote for Mahagathbandhan if elections are held today. So this you can say is a female specific sentiment. Even in 2020, the Mahagathbandhan was ahead amongst males, but the NDA was ahead amongst females by around 2%. And we've all known that female has been a constituency which Nitish Kumar has developed. So we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. Any survey we have to take into account is the fact that if elections are held today, so whatever numbers are there for any vote share, etc., is limited to if elections are held today because the narrative keeps on changing.
Enough.
This is, yeah.
Okay, so Sandeep, your first takeaway from this, let's focus on the women vote. I find it interesting that given the fact that the money has already been given and he's spoken to the women vote, the gap between the NDA and Mahagathbandhan is not so much then, or is it 5% a lot, Sandeep?
See, first of all, I must, provide the caveat that I don't have obviously the ground level knowledge of which Amitabh as well as Anshul has. We are seeing only some amount of, logic. We're trying to do it from a distance. But unfortunately, today, what I find is elections are no longer following any set logic or equation. It is what is really driving the voter's mind is very, very difficult to uh, I before coming to the female, I think this Tejasvi Yadav naming him has been a good decision. Keeping it in limbo could have, diluted or the put in some element of doubt in terms of the Yadav community. From whatever I know of the Yadav community, my source of information is a lot of my ground. We have a network, the kind of work I do. We have our own people present in practically every taluka, so I get some amount of feedback from them informally. It's business associates and people. So one thing is, it's always true that as people joke that when you're talking of Vikas and everything else, people say Vikas kaun sa jaat hai. So the Jat factor is so strong in Bihar. And the Yadav community, when I've spoken to people, even if I try to pull their leg, today everybody thinks everybody else is corrupt. So there is corruption is no longer a differentiator. And at the end of it, they say, Acha, I'm putting it very crudely, like chor hai to kya hai, mera chor hai, kind of a thing.
Okay.
That sort of a feeling is there. So by doing so, I think the Yadav consolidation RJD has ensured, and that's a big thing. Now, how that is going to be countered by BJP especially, because which doesn't have a very clear vote bank, and Nitish, all said and done, everybody would concede is not only a declining star, but his equity has hugely depreciated. So those are there. But in this view, what I've heard is this women's this SOP has actually been
Worked.
received very, very positively. And that's for two reasons. You see, so it's not the earlier Nitish kind of a phenomena, or in terms of his being a darling of the women. Here it is because women actually see this as empowerment. When you're talking of people, their husbands going away to work, etc., the people who are staying back in the villages. Unlike in the past, even in urban situations, the women don't want to sit idle at home. They want to do something, they want to supplement the income. And some of these people are fairly entrepreneurial. I get pleasantly surprised to hear some of the people I know who are working in the cities, etc., their wives are running diesel sets, or they're sending money for them to rent out tractors, and some of them are very progressive in this. I heard, we have changed our diesel this thing, all power we have moved into solar because we are getting the solar benefit. So they
So
are
this.
so what Amitav says in terms of they're using it for micro enterprises, that doesn't surprise me. So they see
Okay.
that and they take with a great, not just a pinch, a bucket of salt, all the promises of freebies which RJD is making. That people will laugh it off, saying that to bakwas hai, because they know even they can understand the simple math. So that doesn't work. And the question of last thing I'll say again, that was a very interesting article this guy had written in HT last week. When you talk of law and order, unfortunately, law and order is not such a big issue. People down the line, as he wrote that we were never bothered because my father was not a doctor, my father was not rich, that he will be held ransom. We were poor people, we are left alone. We are just the same under any regime or any government. So that is not so much of an issue any longer. But Nitish's equity has corroded. The whole bit about, as free for all in terms of the institutionalized corruption has come back.
Mm.
So those fact differentiators which RJD had, I think means the negative differentiators, that has also diluted. Now what Amitav says in terms of
Mm.
apology and all, that I think is difficult for us to comment sitting From
Okay.
it'll only plan out after the results.
Anshu, let me bring you in. You're also the only politician on the panel, so we will not. We'll try not to attack the Congress too much. But by and large, the Mahagathbandhan, the delay in announcing the name, was it just a strategy for seat sharing? And why didn't the Congress get the deputy CM?
No, no, no. Priya, please attack me as much as you want. I'm unfazed by this. If you will forgive me for saying so, but the great enthusiasm for naming a CM in Bihar, the Mahagathbandhan face as a CM, was more among what I could gather among newsrooms and drawing rooms rather than out on the streets, the bazaars, the tea stalls of Bihar. Because in my mind, this was already a fait accompli. I mean, the deal was done the moment you seem to suggest that Bihar is known as a highly politicized state. I mean, it's also a stereotype, but probably a reality as well. Everyone is politically aware. So they all knew which was the largest party, which leader was the most charismatic leader in that party. In the seat sharing, which party has the largest number of seats. This was already known. So
Right.
it wasn't a surprise at all among people. I mean, it was a done deal much before the announcement was made. So
But
I think that there was this kind of great frenzy about having a kind of name and then a kind of a presidential face-off among
yeah,
newsrooms
which is
without.
why, but Rahul hesitates, sorry to interrupt. He also didn't, when he's asked a specific question, then he would have just said, isn't it obvious or something? He never answered that question, or whether, he just avoided it.
No, no, but that's neither here nor there.
So,
That doesn't mean that the
I,
answer wasn't an obvious one.
So I think
Yeah,
Anshul may come in for a minute
sure,
while you
sure.
might say that, but the dissonance which was happening is that is where the trust in Congress comes in. People, even where they were supporters of Yadav, the sense I got, they thought Rahul Gandhi was trying to steal the credit that okay, I may not be getting seats, but ultimately claim it as his victory. Now, which I think the Yadav community didn't want to hand over, and they don't trust that in case of the numbers slipping, etc., whether how far they'll back up this thing. And the point which you are saying,
Yeah.
two sides to the coin. If you're saying that it's so obvious, then what's the big problem in naming him? Why hedge over there? And rather than holding, so it can cut both.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If I can quickly answer that,
Of
you know
course.
the no. So traditionally, in Congress convention, Priya, you're a political historian as well as a reporter. You'll probably be on the ground in Bihar. Do go there. I think traditionally Congress, in that sense, has never named a CM face, let alone in a Mahagathbandhan, but even in its own party ever. I can't recall a single instance in the last 75 years, maybe one or two, but that's not significant. It's never done it, and
But this is
simply
not a
because in
Congress state,
parliamentary
Anshul.
convention.
It is not a
Okay.
Congress is a minor partner there. It's different in a Mahagathbandhan where Congress is a significant partner.
No, no, but it's
There
never
you
done it,
apply your
Sandeep. It's
rules.
never done
See,
it. There is a
Okay.
particular
as
party
per your rules,
convention.
where you're
No, no,
calling it
hang on a
out.
minute. It doesn't.
I'm saying,
That's what I'm trying to tell
Okay,
you,
let
Sandeep.
Anshul, huh?
Yeah, Sandeep, what I'm trying to tell you is it doesn't disrupt the mind of the voter. These are conversations which are not there out on the street because they already know what is happening. They can figure it out. On one hand, if you call Bihar so politically aware, surely there's no mask here. Um, whatever the reason may be. So really, at the time when it was named, ultimately it was the NDA has not really named, but that is not a particular concern to me. I mean, the Amit Shah's now kind of very famous statement that ये पता चलेगा जब सारे MLAs elect होके आएंगे. In actually a tradition of parliamentary democracy, the Westminster model, where everything will be decided, the first of among equals will be decided after the elections. Well, they have a lot of answering to do, but that's besides the point. I think this was a point that was brought out repeatedly by Ashok Gehlotji and Tejasvi Yadav in that press conference. That who is your candidate? If you want to face off and you've been clamoring for one, as far as the Mahagathbandhan is concerned, who's your person? And what is the fate of Mr. Nitish Kumar in the winter of his political career? What is his exit route? Will he go on a high? We don't know. Simply, there are a lot of questions that are being answered similarly on that side. We've made our position now absolutely clear if there was an air of uncertainty and really to put the matters addressed. So that has been done.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
now those other questions are, well, floating in the air.
As to who's the ND candidate, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask. Okay, I'm going to take a break and get Amitav in on this. How important is it to name the candidate really? And is it not clear that Nitish Kumar, will be the ND candidate? If so, why is Amit Shah not naming it? Has the delay worked against the Mahagathbandhan? All these questions after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to the roundtable. We are here discussing the Bihar elections. And Amitabh, before the break, we were discussing the importance of naming a chief ministerial candidate. There is again confusion in the NDA side, as Anshul has also pointed out quite rightly. Is it going to be a Nitish versus Tejasvi face-off? Is it going to be a Tejasvi versus Modi face-off? How do you see this election panning out?
See, essentially, if you see by just by thumb rule,
Hmm.
1/3 of the vote which any candidate gets is on account of leadership, which is state or national. 1/3 is party symbol, and 1/3 is own individual charisma or reputation on a very thumb rule basis. Now, when we ask this question, what is the main voting consideration of voters? 15% said it will be CM face. 17% said it will be PM face. So again, largely corresponding to the 1/3 leadership, but let's say half-half. So that's why naming of the CM is or a CM face is important. It would
Mhm.
not have made any a difference had Rahul Gandhi in that press conference not made a statement like that, or had Amit Shah in that press conference not made a similar statement. Correct. These uncertainties were created because of statements of Rahul and now statement of Amit Shah,
Amit
which
Shah.
created this confusion. Otherwise, it was always a Nitish versus Tejasvi battle. Then it moved to a Nitish versus who battle. Then it moved to a who versus who battle after Amit Shah's statements. Now it is Tejasvi versus who. So it's a battle of narratives. Correct. So
Hmm.
now Mahagathbandhan is asking this question: who is the leader of the NDA? Because for 15% of voters, it is important. This leadership vacuum thing. Because when Tejasvi is asking, or when Ashok Gehlot is asking who is the CM face, they are trying to set the narrative that there is a leadership vacuum in NDA in a post Nitish era, and BJP might do what it has done in MP or Rajasthan, install, let's say, I mean, not to demean anybody, but a lightweight candidate as a CM face, which in a state like Bihar would not work. As Anshulji is saying, it's a very politically aware state. Correct. It is very, very difficult to do something like that there. So now JDU is the most happy, or Nitish Kumar would be the most happier after the announcement of Tejasvi Yadav as the CM face, because it now puts the onus on the BJP and the NDA to clear this.
Announce a face.
And if you see the spokespersons yesterday itself in many debates,
Hmm.
said that Nitish will be CM. But in politics, hierarchy works. Spokespersons making the statement does not make sense. It will have to come from either the Home Minister or the Prime Minister himself, which I think in the consequent rallies, the Prime Minister, sensing the pulse, will have to do it very clearly. Otherwise, this will create confusion, and this will lead to a risk of vote transfer between JDU and BJP, because there are simmering tensions within the NDA also. It's just not
I
visible.
wanted to ask you that, even and the role of Chirag Paswan.
No, see, the role of Chirag Paswan, as in there is some, I mean, historical, you can say, tensions between JDU and LJP. And LJP has got 29 seats, but in many seats it doesn't have the cadre, correct? So it's largely dependent upon the BJP and the JDU votes to win, because with a 6% Paswan community vote, it is very, very difficult to win any election. So it all depends upon the smooth vote transfer between JDU and LJP on those seats, and also between JDU and BJP, where the other party candidates are contesting. Correct. Because Chirag Paswan brings that 5%, 6%, but he would not just want to add that 5%, 6%, but he would also want to win seats.
Hmm.
I mean, let's say 14, 15 out of 29, because that's when
Right.
name comes in, and that's when his bargaining power in the whole deal becomes stronger. So there is a risk of vote transfer between the alliance partners in NDA as well, and that all depends upon the ground level network of the candidates then.
Okay. Sandeep, what is happening in the NDA, and we've seen usually the Prime Minister becomes the face of the campaign, but here, even in a survey of just the women, they are giving equal, almost equal, the credit to the Chief Minister also for the schemes. So here he has a strong leader. There may be some sympathy vote also for Nitish Kumar. Should he? What do you think he will do? Will he give the credit to Nitish Kumar, or will he become the face of the campaign?
I think Amitabh summed it up very well in terms of his earlier statistics, in terms of saying one third. You see,
Hmm.
states where Prime Minister himself becomes that one third, the name, the face itself. In that situation, the Chief Minister's face doesn't count. People vote because of the Prime Minister, and so therefore it's very easy for them to also install some lightweight or anybody here. In Bihar, it wasn't so, but there was, interestingly, one is definitely Nitish's equity has diluted. And what that day I was hearing Prashant Kishore say, and
Ah.
be politically incorrect or people, or BJP supporters or anybody to say this. You see, Prime Minister also doesn't carry any longer that 2014 aura, etc., to be just on his face carried through. So if they have worked on a combination strategy of having Nitish plus Prime Minister giving you that 30%, I think that's an interesting logic. And in Bihar, what I hear from even the BJP supporters, or for that matter, even the non-BJP RJD supporters, the enigma is Chirag Paswan. उनको कैसा इतना कैसा सीट दे दिया, हाँ, इतना नंबर्स कैसा दे दिया, ठीक है वो लोकसभा में कुछ वो जीते थे लेकिन पहले इलेक्शन में तो, and the interpretation people are having is the equation which Amit Shah and others have.
Chirag.
Paswan's party is really like a proxy for BJP. You see, BJP has not increased its seat numbers in terms of in the whole equation. So how does it go? And there's everybody's prediction, again, including Prashant Kishore, that JDU numbers are going to come down significantly, whether one likes it or not, because of that. So how do you make up that combination? So unless BJP is able to help Chirag Paswan get those additional seats, BJP's total count doesn't happen there. So that is where Amitabh's, again, the earlier point of seat by seat contest comes into play. Chirag Paswan on his own doesn't merit those number of seats, even if he was trying to do a hard bargaining, or even if he, just on his own merits, if he said that you don't give, I'll walk out. BJP could have easily said that you please walk out, go wherever you want. You don't have your own equity with 6-7%. That they've taken him on over there. That is one thing, and it's a counter. Therefore, people are also equally intrigued, even the RJD supporters, why has this Saini been already named as a deputy chief minister? What are his credentials? How much does he bring in? So it is all those, I think, those very micro adjustments which is working over there. Each one is trying to do that. So it'll have to pan out later. And as I honestly admitted, I think certainly I am competent to talk with those micro numbers which Amitabh and
Has
his
come on. But
colleagues.
you made a good point about Chirag eating into the JDU. Even in terms of seat sharing, the chunk of Chirag's 29 seats have come from JDU, which now has the same number of 101 seats as the BJP that is contesting on. Anshul, tell us a bit about both this Saini and Chirag Paswan. What is the buzz on the ground? Why are the role that they are playing?
Yeah, well, Mukesh Saini has been a part of the Mahagathbandhan alliance. He was there very strongly in 2024 in the Lok Sabha elections as well. I remember when I fought the Lok Sabha and from Patna Sahib. I mean, when Tejaswi ji and came to my meeting and he was really unwell, it was always Mukesh Sahni and the other leaders who were coming together. They were coming together in the same copter, in the same in the same car. So he's been a
Hmm.
close ally of the Mahagathbandhan since then. His vote share and his charisma can't be underestimated at all. He was a part of the Voter Adhikar Yatra, standing there on that jeep at all. He brings a lot of value to the Mahagathbandhan in terms of that critical EBC vote. Some people are, the idea that, there's only 2% and other
Yeah.
EBC categories with a lot more percentage of votes should get that, but it doesn't work like that. It's
Your own
about
PCC chief, for instance, why was he not taken?
no, no. So, well, certainly the other deputy CMs will be announced. Deputy
Okay.
CM is a is a status, you know. It's about stature. It's not a constitutional really position anyway, right? It's more about the ministries they take that make them powerful. But what it does, it elevates you to the level of first among equals. There
Correct.
is no constitution sort of provision for that. So what these do is they become the representative face of certain communities, and we want to represent those kind of communities: the chunks, the Dalits, the Muslims, the other backwards, the EBCs. So they're not monolith communities; they're all very separate. And then you have the forward categories. And even you saw that on the Jeep in the Voter Adhikar Yatra, where we try to make it highly representative. So a number of charismatic leaders from all communities on that one Jeep for 2 weeks and living in the same compound. That was the message. So the idea is
Okay.
this: look, Chirag Paswan, I mean, what can I say? I mean, last time we know that in a highly tight election,
Hmm.
he really ate into the JDU votes, and therefore caused
So,
that much damage. They barely scraped through. This time round, look, every election is very, very challenging. I mean, for the Mahagathbandhan as well. I mean, this is a mature talk. I can say it quite openly, and why should it not be? You have to go into
yeah.
people and earn their trust. You have to say every single time, listen, I'm the one, I'm your future, give me your vote, because I'm the one you should be trusting. You have to do it, particularly in Bihar. And
Hmm.
I believe, and I think Amitabh is right. Agree with his assessment. Now that the dust has settled, at least on our side, the election will become highly particularistic and disaggregated. It will be constituency wise and region wise as well. You know, the Shahabad
Okay.
votes very differently from Simachal and other places where caste arithmetics take different shape and forms, and so do political parties. I think one party that is often under discussed is Male, the CPI-ML, a very
Hmm.
powerful presence in the Shahabad belt, but
Okay.
not that effective in other places, but really adds so much value to the Mahagathbandhan. It will become seat-wise, and I think there Chirag Paswan's metal or heft will be tested.
One
And
question
also
to Anshul.
Simachal, where I think Mukesh
One
Sahni and
question to
Assuddin
Anshul.
Owaisi are from. Sorry, yeah.
One question
Sandeep?
to Anshul. Anshul, what about the dissent or dissonance within the Congress? Yesterday's slogan saying instead of a vote chore, they said seat chore. They're talking about these five-star leaders who came and didn't deny tickets to ticket chore. I think that not seat chore, ticket chore is what they were talking about. What about the dissent which is there in terms of the ticket distribution in Congress?
Yeah, well, leaders that come from Delhi, everyone stays in five stars. They don't stay in dharmshalas anymore. That was, when nothing existed, then that used to happen. I think, the idea of rebellion and jo bagi ho jate hain, I mean, it's certainly not a new one, Sandeep, in any
It's
kind of
not
nature of
new. I agree
politics.
with you.
It's
But
so and rebellions. I mean, people look. The disappointment of not getting a ticket
it's high.
and other things is articulated in various forms all the time. I mean, sometimes they stand up themselves, sometimes they're silent,
Yeah,
reticent.
I agree
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
you. It
Fair
so
happens.
enough.
so
Huh.
yeah, it's in a mature party with a 140-year-old
Yeah.
party.
It happens
Elections have been taking
across.
place since
Okay.
1937, Sandeep,
No, I
after the
agree
Government of
with
India
you.
Act.
No, I
Uh,
agree with you on that. But I think the
Huh.
difference is here, people are saying, what Tariq Anwar and everybody's point was, the people who call the shots are not politicians. They are the analysts and backroom people without any political history.
That.
If
yeah, but
people
so
think
Sandeep, when politicians take a shot, they're equally accused. I mean, what is the
that I
difference?
agree.
I mean, here you have some.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
here I
But
think yeah. Sorry.
sorry, no, yeah, no. I just one quick question before we log off is to Amitabh on Prashant Kishore. You said in the beginning that his vote share is slipping a bit amongst the women. Why is that? You're on mute. Back on mute.
Largely, it seems that he peaked early. That's number one, because he was raising issues. Timing is very, very important in politics. He is not contested. I think somewhere down the line, also recently, if you see in some of the interviews, it seems that he is getting exposed also. First, he said that we would not give tickets to any person who is coming from any other party, etc. And thirdly and lastly, I think that there is no candidate list. I did not see any candidate list after first and second list. Correct.
Hmm.
I mean, it is very, very difficult to find his candidate names on the
243.
correct. So he was also lacking candidates in that sense. Candidates are there, but it's not publicly described in any press conference also. So I think that some of the steam practically
Okay.
seems to be losing. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, in fact, I think a later discussion could be the fate of, individuals who come in, like an Arvind Kejriwal, like a Prashant Kishore, how they come in with a bang, want to do politics for the difference. They don't get enough candidates. They manage to get the funding one way or the other. But then what happens to them? Maybe later on we can have a discussion on that. But thank you so much for this and for keeping us abreast of what's happening on the ground. And Anshul, thank you for, here we took a lot of pot shots at the Congress, but I think you handled it very well. Sandeep was being his usual mischievous self, which always helps. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Priya.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.